Hey everyone, welcome to Edible Ecosystem Session 5. Today we're going to go over the water cycle and how to make a rain garden. So we're going to go over what makes water so special, because it is special, the water cycle, rain garden overview, how to make one, and where you might be able to get a free rain barrel. So we're going to go over what makes water special. So water is special not only because it's the source of all life on Earth, though that is really important, but going back to chemistry for a second, it can be a liquid, solid, or a gas, and commonly occurs naturally in all three forms, which is something not a whole lot of things do. There are other things that occur in other states of matter naturally, but water is the most common. Not only that, but in its liquid form, water absorbs and reflects light. This has really, uh, really big impacts on what can live in large bodies of water like lakes and oceans and deep rivers. Light absorbed increases water temperature at the surface and creates what's called the thermocline. These are different temperatures at different depths. This is how like fish survive at the bottom of lakes. So what happens is the bottom of lakes don't actually freeze. So the fish and other things can survive down there during the winter. Anyway, light reflected off oceans increases the temperature of the air. This is less so on lakes and rivers, but with lakes as big as, let's say, the Great Lakes, it can still make the air hot and humid. Water can also hold salt, and that determines what species can live where. Like how sharks occur mostly in the ocean where it's abundantly salty versus trout, which like freshwater. Oxygen is also in a state of flux in water depending on the flow, what types of plants and microorganisms are present, and many other factors. For example, a river with lots of rocks in it that the water flows over increases the amount of oxygen present in the water by mixing and bubbling as it flows. Those bubbles collect air and releases it back into the river. A lake will hold less oxygen than a river because they're more stagnant. Plants can add oxygen back into the water through respiration and increase the oxygen in the water through photosynthesis. But one thing you might not have known is that phosphorus occurs in water. Phosphorus is a nutrient that all life requires to build proteins, DNA, and cell walls for plants. So, because it's a nutrient that all life requires, if there isn't enough to go around, not all life will survive. So, water bodies, like lakes with mineral rocks and sediments, contain a lot of phosphorus. It also occurs in ocean sediments. Humans have figured out how to make it, and too much of it from fertilizing our crops is affecting the health of our water bodies. All of this background information is critical to understanding how to take care of our ecosystem and the balance it requires to function. So let's get into the water cycle. All water on Earth comes from the water cycle. I'm sure you learned this in high school, but probably forgot exactly how it works, so let's go over it one more time. So, evaporation from rivers, lakes, oceans, and streams, glacial melt, and transpiration from plants forms clouds. These clouds, when filled with too many water molecules, precipitate rain. This provides the Earth with a never-ending cycle of fresh water. It gets collected into water tables called groundwater and runs off into streams and rivers. But even though fresh water is a renewable resource, there's only so much of it. So only 2.5% of all water on Earth is usable fresh water for us. If we disrupt the natural cycle by using too much water or taking too much out of our groundwater at once, we can and will run out. To help solve this, we can collect rainwater and help out our edible ecosystem by providing our flooded areas with plants that like water. So let's go ahead and talk about a rain garden. So rain garden is something that is going to have two functions. So it'll provide a habitat for plants that absorb water and save your foundation from flooding. To make an effective rain garden, you need an area that collects water that's also on a slope, have enough plants to absorb the water, and an area for overflow. This can look a couple of different ways. So here, what's pictured is digging a 2 foot wide and 1 foot long and 10 inches deep hole on the side of a rain garden that is away from your house. This will help excess water get absorbed into your soil. The other way is having an outflow of rocks on a downhill ridge that will direct excess water away from your house. Think of it as like a rock river. Also, not everyone needs to build a rain garden. It's based on necessity. So if you don't need one, you could help someone else build one. So to start, you would first identify the area that meets the requirements. Or if there isn't an area with standing water when it floods, you can just use plants and not have to dig a hole for overflow. Then you can find some native plants that fit their water requirements. Some plants are aquatic, which means they like standing water, while others like damp water, but they don't like to be left in standing water. So I have some examples. So we have cranberry bush, common boneset, marsh marigold, New York American aster, and little blue stem. So these are all native plants that you can get here in the Northeast, or that are native to the Northeast. And they're all kind of different types. So I picked these because of the diversity. The more types of plants you can include, the better. I personally have swamp milkweed, horsetail, and a yarrow plant next to my mini pond. So, just to give you some ideas. And then the next step is essentially planning how big you want your garden to be. Get rid of any existing plants. For example, you'll have to dig out the grass because the plants that you want there won't be more aggressive than the grass, usually. There are some aggressive native plants, but I couldn't find any that were particularly aggressive that like water. Next, you're going to get some compost and prepare the area with compost and maybe a little bit of new soil. And if you're putting an outflow, you can use the clay soil leftover from digging out the grass as a base and then put your rocks on top. Small pebbles on the bottom, bigger stones on top. That's a good layering strategy. Put in your new plants and cover it with some mulch, and then you should be good to go. Alright, so I'm going to talk about rain barrels. So back in 2023, I was able to get mine from what's called the Onondaga County Resource Recovery Agency, or OCRA. I took a class and watched some of the videos that they have on how to set it up, how to connect more rain barrels if you need them, and stuff like that. And then after the class was done, I was able to go pick it up from our water waste treatment center. So I would look for free rain barrel programs from your local county resource recovery agency if they have one, or your Department of Environmental Conservation might have one. Another good resource is SaveTheRain.us. They sponsored my county's free rain barrel program, so keep an eye on that. So, yeah.